So in your AMC, how much is the funds through MFDs and how much is through direct?
90% is from distributors. Of that 90, because let's be honest, what does a client come to a advisor or a distributor for? They come for creating some route to a financial goal that will change their life, right? Because this is not their day job, right? This is our day job. But the ability to take that experience and give the comfort to the investor.
Sir, you were into this industry for the last 30 years.
Yes.
How did you see the journey of this mutual fund penetration? Because there are multi-baggers in mutual funds today.
Mutual funds became financial instrument in the investor's life. 2% of their investment portfolio or 5%, or to somebody who maybe 100% of their investments are in mutual funds. I'm just saying
3-4% of the population participating in mutual funds is doing good. What in case tomorrow the participation of the population increases? Those kind of companies and shares are available in Indian economy today?
Firstly, I think it's a myth to believe that the wealth creation journey for anybody over the next 5 to 10 years, if tomorrow that number was not 5 crores, it is 10 crores, 15 crores, do you believe there is enough opportunity? Hopefully will become even more relevant as India becomes the third largest economy.
So when we look at the per capita income for the NRIs, in terms of INR, they make much decent money compared to average Indian. So how do you see the opportunity for them to invest in Indian mutual funds?
NRIs historically, if you think about it, have always had great comfort, fixed deposits, whether it is NRE deposits. The next 20 years for this country, which is really the Viksit Bharat objective that has been set out.
But any specific things to attract NRIs?
For future, I think our big focus is like...
Sir, coming to the youngsters.
Yes.
Who are at to start their first paycheck, what is your recommendation or suggestion to the youngsters to start building their wealth for the future?
And the combination of health and term, because buying as important. Now this may found strange coming from a mutual fund person saying,
Yes,
how are you saying that a 20-year-old should buy health insurance first? But of all the things you spend money on, medical costs have gone through the roof.
Hi, welcome to RP Wealth. Today I am at Mumbai with Mr. Anthony, MD and CEO of Mahindra Mutual Funds. He is also chairperson in AMFI. Today let us talk to Anthony sir and know more about mutual funds and financial planning. Welcome Anthony sir.
Thank you Ramprasad, and thank you for the opportunity.
Sir, it's my pleasure sir, you giving us opportunity to talk to you. Sir, my first question to you is, sir, my most favorite topic. So I wanted to know from you as an head of AMC. So in your AMC, how much is the funds through MFDs and how much is through direct? May I know that?
So interesting you asked this question, because we are probably the one fund that has the highest percentage of AUM contribution by MFDs. So 90% is from distributors. Of that 90, because obviously you have banks, you have national distributors, I would say 80% of that is MFDs. MFDs have been very kind to us.
Sir, how do you see the role of an MFD in the turbulent times like recent 6 months, 7 months?
See, I can answer it at two levels. One is I don't see any change in the role, because at some level you would argue that an MFD is the client's best friend through all periods of time. Okay. But at another level, I would argue that at turbulent times, there is a higher role for the MFD, because let's be honest, what does a client come to a advisor or a distributor for? They come for creating some route to a financial goal that will change their life, right? When the going is good, highly likely that the client will actually not reach out. But when the going is tough, that's when the self-doubt start to come in, because this is not their day job, right? This is our day job. We can talk about history, last 30 years, markets have not always gone up. These are periods of time you should stay invested. But the ability to take that experience and give the comfort to the investor, I would say, is invaluable in these turbulent times. I can remember, these I wouldn't even say are that turbulent times, right? The last 6 months.
Oh.
But if I was to think about the kind of investor panic that would have set in March 2020, when COVID had just started, when most people said that the world is perhaps coming to an end. I remember sometimes meeting some clients who would say, it doesn't matter. The whole world is going to come to an end. What difference does it make if my portfolio drops 50 or 100%? I'm not going to be around. I mean, those are the extreme thoughts, right? And I know many MFDs who made a massive effort to convince customers not to invest, because that is very challenging. You know, when times are really difficult, to say you put money, people should ideally do it, but it's very tough. But just the journey of an MFD calming somebody and saying don't do anything rash has so much implications on the wealth that then happens, right? So I would put it this way. I think an MFD has a role in all kinds of times, right? Because the MFD is supposed to be the client's best friend in their wealth creation journey through life. That's, I would say, the ideal scenario. Yes. That being said, in difficult times, I think that's the time the client needs you to reach out. So it's not even about are you going to be able to be available for the client when they reach out. I think in turbulent times, there are lots of opportunities for MFDs to reach out. And I see a lot of them that do it, right? I mean, the biggest example I remember is perhaps not the last 6 months. So, I remember March 2020. So much of panic, people wondering whether the world itself is coming to an end, right? And people wanting to perhaps redeem every single amount of money. And lot of MFDs made efforts to keep those clients calmer, not do anything rash. While if I'm not saying that there are not investors who invest directly, but my point would be, if you are an investor who for some reason has a deep understanding of markets, long-standing experience of investing, which will make sure you do the right things, then yes, direct can work for you. But I think that is 1-2% of the population, if you ask me. For 98% of the population, you need advice. I can give you a different example, Ramprasad. I still believe that even when it comes to my own personal investing, even if obviously it'd be bizarre if I invested in my own fund other than direct, because it's easy to do it, but I will reach out to MFD friends and just try to figure out what are they thinking. They have the perspective of getting an opportunity to listen to fund managers from other fund houses, not just me. So it's a role that is very, very underappreciated, if you ask me, the role of an MFD in that wealth creation journey. Too many people spend time giving media bites about the saving of the 0.5%, the 0.8%. I'm very clear. The journey is about creating the 12% compounded for 20 years. That is wealth creation. Saving 0.5% for 20 years is not going to get you there.
Great, sir. Sir, you were into this industry for the last 30 years.
Yes.
How did you see the journey of this mutual fund penetration? Because there are multi-baggers in mutual funds today. We have a lot many funds from different AMCs which have grown 1,000 times, at least 350 times, 400 times from 1995, 93 kind of thing. So how did it change even after introducing this direct and regular? Did it help industry?
It has helped to some degree, but if you ask me, there is a big change obviously in the 30 years that I've been part of this industry. It may be coincidental or it may be a reason. So mutual funds became something of a acceptable financial instrument in the investor's life. An investor for whom mutual funds are only 2% of their investment portfolio or 5%, or to somebody who maybe 100% of their investments are in mutual funds. I'm just saying both sets of people acknowledge that mutual funds is a good thing, which is a thing that I've seen happen quite clearly in the last 7-8 years. Having said that, I would still say, and this is not necessarily a direct answer to is it different from direct and regular? I would say, however, in regular, we have the opportunity of trying to bridge the gap between investor return and investment return, right? So you very rightly said that there are funds that were set up in the 90s or in the early 2000s, which are up 100 times in terms of NAV or 50 times, etc. It may sound very fantastic. End of the day, it is just nothing but 13-14% compounded return. How many investors were able to last that journey? I would say is very low compared to where it should be. And I think that's a journey the industry still has to figure out. And the distributor community is, I would say, equally responsible. Now, I don't mean it in a blame standpoint, but we can't as a mutual fund industry solve it, right? Because you all are the handholders of the customer, right? So I can send emailers, I can do webinars, I can do conversations like this, but only you can have deep conversations with each customer. And I think that's the next journey for us. How do we bridge that gap? 100 times? How many of our customers actually got the 100 times?
So you mean to say it's not a sale, it is a relation building with the client for MFD.
100%.
That creates wealth
I
for
think
both.
that is an absolute given.
Perfect, sir. So there are fears in the market saying that people, those are not into mutual fund, not at experience with the equity, say that if today with the 3-4% of the population participating in mutual funds is doing good, what in case tomorrow the participation of the population increases? Will there be those kind of companies and shares are available in Indian economy today? If the on of sudden the investors from today's whatever percentage become double, triple, will the industry able to manage that assets? If there is inflow doubling, tripling in next 5 years, sir?
See, I can actually answer this question and I'll take an entire day to do it.
Oh.
But let me try and give you a shorter answer.
Please.
Firstly, I think it's a myth to believe that the wealth creation journey for anybody is only to be delivered through equity. Okay, so I would put that point first. The opportunity in an Indian context is that you can do Indian equities. Fixed income is an opportunity as well. And as we particularly see in the last 2-3 years, gold is also an opportunity.
True, sir.
If I look at it and say, over the next 5 to 10 years, today as an industry, we manage money for probably 5 crore unique PAN holders.
Yes.
If tomorrow that number was not 5 crores, it is 10 crores, 15 crores. Do you believe there is enough opportunity between the various fixed income, equity and gold? Think again, two ways to look at this. Over the next 5 to 10 years, the kind of sectors, subsectors, industries that hopefully will become even more relevant as India becomes the third largest economy in time and so on and so forth, means that there will be enough number of companies that will come to marketplace for you to buy. But I just want to place another perspective on this.
Please.
And I'll be careful because I could go on for a day on this perspective, but I'll try to keep this short, which is that I think it's a myth where people think that the wealth creation journey has to only happen via equities. Right? I think there's enough opportunity, for example, in a diversified portfolio. One of the products that the industry has created in the last 2-3 years, which is multi-asset, is a great answer. Right? It is impossible that in the next 5 to 10 or 15 years, you'll have a situation where every asset class does not perform. Trust me, we'll have bigger problems than what is happening with our investments if that happened, right?
Oh.
And according to me, the journey of this industry, which in last 30 years, let's say, has resulted in 5 crore unique investors being part of this industry. It's very easy, frankly, for the industry to be able to manage a number which is closer to 10 or 15 crores without even worrying about where is the extra supply of paper going to come. To my mind, this industry has the ability to grow at least 5 or 10 times from here before something like that becomes an issue. The last part I will also put in front of you. As our country develops, we will probably provide opportunities to invest not just in India. We already have many feeder funds, etc.
Yes, sir.
Right?
Yes,
So I don't think that's the worry. That can we manage if this became 10 times what is coming? I think that's very, very easy.
Yes, sir. I do agree. Mutual funds is the only vehicle wherein we are today sitting in India. We are participating in pure real estate through funds. Some countries like China, Brazil, whenever we see an opportunity. Yes, sir. But the question is for the people, those are not entered into mutual fund. For many people, thinking of mutual fund is just an equity. Yeah, well said, sir. That's well said. So now my next question is, so when we look at the per capita income, so if we look the same per capita income for the NRIs in terms of INR, they make much decent money compared to average Indian.
Correct.
So how do you see the opportunity for them to invest in Indian mutual funds? Because my point is, as I spoke to most of NRIs, I manage many NRIs today across globe.
Yeah.
So when I look at their net worth in India, the percentage of allocation towards the Indian mutual fund is hardly below 5% of their overall net worth. How do you see it as an opportunity both for MFD as well as an NRIs to invest in India, sir?
I think it is a massive opportunity. It's a bigger opportunity to me than the opportunity for resident Indians. I will also equally say that even today, we have scratched the surface.
Oh.
Right? You think about it, in the last 30 years, our capital markets have delivered arguably 12 to 14% return, give or take whichever index. The first biggest beneficiary of it has been the foreign institutional investor actually. They have been the largest buyers of Indian equity over these last 30 years. Domestic investors have been probably third in the list. Only in the last 5-7 years, people have started to use mutual funds in a large scale. NRIs historically, if you think about it, have always had great comfort in giving fixed deposits, whether it is NRE deposits or large forms of remittances, right? I have an advantage over, and I'm living in the US or Australia or the Middle East, right? I think I have an advantage over any other citizen of other nationalities. I still understand India, right? That's where I came from. And I think the journey that the next 20 years for this country, which is really the Viksit Bharat objective that has been set out, you go back in history. You look countries like Korea, Japan, Taiwan, even the US maybe about a century ago. People believe, and there are lots of very qualified historians and economists who say this, the creation of prosperity that happens when a country moves from developing to developed is a unique moment in the history of that country for centuries, not for decades, for centuries, right? I think there is reasonable conviction that that moment of 20-25 years for India is now. And so for any NRI that still has close ties to this country, this is an opportunity. And to the point that we've had in this conversation, if I'm sitting in Seattle, if I'm sitting in Melbourne, if I'm sitting in Dubai, I know this, I understand this, but how am I going to make this happen? A lot of people don't know this, and I'll just share this with you because, as you know, on Amphi, I have a couple of other roles as well on the operations, and close to 96% of the transactions in our industry, and it's typically, maybe 40-50 lakh transactions a day, happen paperless, which means that for a customer sitting in Hyderabad or Chennai, Mumbai or Melbourne or Seattle, your ability, Ramprasad, to give the service required is actually identical. So my belief is that for the MFDs also, this is a large opportunity. It's not just about how many customers in the city I work in or I am operating in are investing. I think all of, you think about people in sales always teach you, right? References is a very good way of doing business.
True.
I would believe the question should not be that please tell me about your friends and neighbors who are next to you. Please tell me about your friends and family who are also outside India. I think it's as big, if not bigger, an opportunity.
True, sir. True, sir. So, is there any steps from AMPI side to attract the NRI investors? We do a campaign like a common campaign. Mutual funds, I hear, yes, that helped us, MFDs or all the industry. But any specific things to attract NRIs?
Not right now, but you bring up an interesting point. Actually, I'll take this, Ram, as a suggestion, right? That when we start identifying client segments for future, I think our big focus is like, how do we change the 5 crore unique investors to 10 crore? I don't think the messaging needs to change. Maybe we don't need to explain. They know what mutual funds are. They're used to investing. Maybe the mediums we use to advertise, right? I mean, so for example, arguably, I remember in the last T20 World Cup in the US, you look at most of the stadiums, they were all full of non-resident Indians, right? So potentially, could you use that as a medium to advertise? Because then you have a lot of the local population there. So I think it's about which mediums you choose that the NRIs potentially will see. Right? I still have personally family, and I'm sure, Ramprasad, you do as well. They still have some of their viewing not just in Netflix. There are still some local channels, right? If I'm from Andhra or Telangana, there will be a Telugu channel that is there on my TV. If I'm from Goa like I will still follow some Konkani channel if I can. So I think it's a medium, and I'll take this as a suggestion. I don't think I could say, oh no, we're doing this or that. I think since we're having this conversation, I think the NRI is a segment we don't think about as, how do we change the perhaps 500,000 NRI customers who've invested in the last 1 month for the first time. Why can it not be 50 lakh?
Okay, the reason for me to bring this, that when I look at the ticket size of my investors, NRIs are doing on an average a big ticket like 3 lakhs per month, 4 lakhs. They have got that potential to do. But few cases, now when NRI visits India, he first goes to his hometown, he buy a property. After that, he comes to me saying that, Ram, we just purchased a property, which is worth 3 crore. Now I am left with 20 lakhs, 30 lakhs. Can we plan something into mutual fund? So that's where I see their lot of net worth is built in. 95% of the NRS net worth is in real estate, and the biggest challenge in future is repatriating this back to their country, because there is no certainty that whether they come back or not. Repatriation is one bigger challenge, na? When they invest through NRE.
I think so. And I think ownership is also potentially a challenge as it moves to the next generation. I at least personally have seen some stories where I've actually seen some non-resident Indians spend extra effort actually exiting real estate
Yes.
because they are very clear that if the next generation isn't coming back to India, it's not very viable for them to keep it. Even for them, for you and me, if we have an extra apartment, for us to give it on leave and license is the easiest thing in the world.
Yes, sir, true.
But for them now, assuming it goes to the next generation, there are hiccups. So converting a part or a lot of that real estate holding into mutual funds, I would say, is one of the most obvious things. And I again stress the point, right? It's not about trying to convert it into equity, because that's what people sometimes think, that, oh, only that is a right replacement. I think across equity, multi-asset funds, hybrid funds, any of them could be possible routes for some of this real estate divestment, because clearly for them, I think investing in real estate going forward is going to be a much larger challenge than it has been maybe 10, 15 years ago when they did it.
Especially talking about NRIs, many NRIs are not aware that they are not allowed to buy agricultural land in India. When I bring up this on table, they are surprised. No one told us. How can you say NRIs are not allowed to buy agricultural land? It's not NRI. OCI is not allowed to buy agricultural land. NRIs can buy. That's what they're under the assumption.
So that's why I'm saying that it is a large opportunity, because they have significant amount of wealth. They're looking to avenues to deploy. And like I told you about my theory on this developing to developed, right?
So
Many of them are sitting in developed countries. There is a return trajectory that happens with developed countries, right? You have inflation at 2%, interest rates at 4%. Equity markets are typically, outside of the US, most developed markets tend to range to 8 to 10, right? So that, to me, there's a big opportunity. And as the digitization of records in India happen, it is going to become more and more challenging. I think in the past people found workarounds. But you remember this budget, there is this announcement that in fact land records will be digitized, and then a lot of that, if it is the law of the land says you can't, maybe for 10 years nobody knew. But now that it is digitized, somebody is going to insist on an Aadhaar, they will insist on a PAN. Lots of people don't understand the PAN number for an NRI has a different lettering to recognize it's NRI, right?
yes, sir.
And tech is the easiest tech to figure out. So
Yes.
if I was an NRI, India has still incredible opportunities, but I just think you need to go beyond the conventional way of thinking about it, which is conventionally, I think it's been about, let me buy a property, whether it's land or an apartment, let me do an NRE deposit, let me just focus on remittances. I think moving beyond that to capital markets for NRIs is a very, very large kind of scope that I don't think we've tapped at all.
Yes, sir. That's what I feel. They should know that they can invest in any asset class through mutual fund first. NRI, when they own commercial property and are paying GST, having a TDS,
Yeah.
even a residential property, when the owner is an NRI, he need to have a TDS cut and all. While making the transaction also, people are making mistakes, not
Yes.
disclosing as NRI and all. In future, that might turn to be a bigger challenge for them. So we want to bring it in public that they have awareness about it.
And if you permit me to be a little
Please.
provocative,
Please.
and I'm not saying this from a nationalist sentiment, I think time will not be far where some of them may actually say, I may not wish to stay in this country, I'd probably prefer to be comfortable back in India.
Okay.
Now, just think about it. I have historically bought an apartment in Pune, for argument's sake.
So,
Right? 10 years from now, I've taken a call, I'd like to come back. And I'd like to come back and I'd like to live in Bangalore because I'm a technology guy and there's a lot of interesting work. Now, I can't go and live in my apartment in Pune and do something in Bangalore, right? So the point is, actually having physical assets doesn't help. But if you've created enough of a wealth in India as well, it gives you that optionality, is my view. I think when you and I have grown up, the direction has always been resident to non-resident. I'll argue this. I think 10 years from now, we will be talking about a concept, what happens when a non-resident wishes to be a resident.
okay.
And this country has enough opportunities for that, right? So that also is a reason for probably a non-resident to think about creating a decent portfolio in India.
Great, sir. So I don't know whether to ask this question, the right question for you or not. Is there any possibility in future India allowing dual citizenship? I don't know, many people in other countries are having a dual citizenship.
Yes.
With my experience with NRI, out of the wife and husband, one is taking the citizenship, one is still keeping, because to protect their assets in India.
Yes.
If we allow them for a dual citizenship, that also makes life very easy.
So that honestly, Ramprasad, is above my pay grade, because that is, I'm sure there are other considerations, but that's what I'm saying. It doesn't matter with financial assets, right?
Yes, true.
That's
true.
that if we as a country are very welcoming of foreign institutional investors.
Yeah.
We have been that for 30 years. There are many statements from very senior policy makers that clearly believe that foreign capital is needed for the development of many sectors, subsectors, infrastructure. You then can say that capital markets will always be very welcoming to non-resident Indians.
Yes.
So the concept of citizenship will not occur when it comes to capital market products like mutual funds, or for that matter, even, I mean, I'm not saying a non-resident Indian buys term insurance and health insurance, but I know, Ramprasad, I think that's something people don't see enough. You are a very unique MFD in that perspective, right? That combination of mutual fund plus health plus term, which is why when you say that you are supposed to be your customer's best friend for life,
Yes, sir.
that combination is very unique. So I must compliment you on that.
Thanks for this. Sir, coming to the youngsters
Yes.
who are at to start their cut the first paycheck, what is your recommendation or suggestion to the youngsters to start building their wealth for the future using mutual fund as an opportunity?
So I'm very glad, and I don't know whether you're asking this question because you almost know the answer to
Nice.
this based on my last question.
Okay.
It has to be a combination of perhaps starting a SIP in an equity product because they can take the risk. They have a lot of wealth creation journey ahead of them. I think click of a button, which is entirely possible through MFDs as well, because everything is pretty much digitized, paperless, and a combination of health and term. Because buying, if at all, I would drop term if I had to, but health, I think, is as important. Now this may sound strange coming from a mutual fund person saying,
Yes,
how are you saying that a 20-year-old should buy health insurance first? But I'll tell you, I have, and I'm sure all of us have had some personal experience in the last 5 or 10 years. Of all the things you spend money on, medical costs have gone through the roof. So just think about it. Let's think of a live example. I have just finished my engineering or a technology course or a commerce degree or whatever. I've started my job. I earn 6 lakh rupees a year, 8 lakh rupees a year. Let's assume that's the average salary that would be the case. I would spend perhaps 50% of it because clearly the youngsters today have a lot more spending affinity than perhaps we did, which is fine. I mean, that's the way they believe life is happy for them, and that's really what's most important. But just think about it, 5 years of doing this saving of maybe 1 lakh or 2 a year, and some ailment comes across that requires you to be in hospital. You can actually go back pretty much to 20 by the cost of that particular thing. Right, so I think the good old days where people thought buying a 5 lakh, 10 lakh health insurance is more than enough is long gone.
Yes, sir.
And even if I was a youngster, it doesn't cost a lot of money to buy a 25 lakh health insurance policy when you're 22 years old. Right,
True,
because
sir,
even
true.
life insurance or health insurance companies understand that the likelihood of you actually using it is low, so the premiums are lower, right? That's how it all works. So I would say start an SIP in an equity diversified fund. Don't again do too fancy stuff, sector fund, thematic fund. Just do a simple Flexi multi-cap fund and buy health insurance for yourself. And the other thing I would suggest is yourself some time. It's going to sound strange. Buy yourself some time to learn about investing. Because I think for somebody who even uses an MFD, it's really important for people to understand why they're investing, where they're investing. Frankly, I think back, I don't know, I'm going to switch it and ask you after I finish, right?
Please, sir, please.
I feel that if I knew about investing, basics, not even fancy stuff, basics, if I knew when I was 20, 22, 23, even though I was working in mutual fund industry even then, that was my first job, ends up being my last job probably, I would be potentially a lot wealthier. I surely would have invested a lot better if I had taken the time to learn these things. No, but doesn't help that at 50 I've learned that don't panic when markets fall, right? Invest for a long period of time. What you invest in doesn't help. Investing for a long period of time, even if you didn't buy the best thing, still creates wealth. So all of those things, right? I mean, I don't know. Do you think when you were 20, 25 years old, you had any understanding of where to invest?
No, sir. One of my ex-company CEO, when I was 26, he told me to start an SIP of 500 rupees per month.
Yeah.
I started it and made it for 11 months and I stopped it
Yeah.
because I was in negative returns.
Yeah. So that's what I would say, that besides actually investing, they need to invest time in understanding what they're doing. Because, we put these ads on SIP, right? You standard those ads. Make your money work as hard as you do.
Yeah.
Boon boon se sagar banta hai. And a sip a day makes an ocean.
Yes, sir.
Of all of that, the one thing that I think, when I come across very successful investors in the marketplace, a lot of them actually are people who don't have a job and don't have a business. They just invest.
True, sir.
That's their 100% life, passion, business, call it what you may. And you realize that all they have done is that they have invested time in understanding, they have made mistakes, they've learned from those mistakes, and then they've kind of become successful, right? So my advice to the youngsters who watch this conversation is that besides investing and buying yourself insurance, invest in learning.
Great, sir. Sir, from your words about the younger generation, I want to add one point here, sir.
Yes.
It's not only for younger generation. As you rightly mentioned, there is a high possibility that most of the NRIs or some of NRIs may come back to India. I recommend all the NRIs to have an health insurance in India from today. This is what I am ensuring with all my NRI clients, because I see a lot of NRIs while coming back are coming with a pre-existing diseases. With that condition, they are declined by the insurers. They are thinking once we go back, we buy a health insurance policy, which is not possible at all the times. Health insurance is given to you when you are healthy, be it an NRI or an youngster.
Yes.
Yeah, this is the point I want to make it, sir.
I mean, Ramprasad, you probably, because you do this and you understand this a lot more intimately. I honestly don't understand it outside of just knowing that you should get yourself health insurance cover. But, while the cost of medical facilities in India has gone up, the quality of medical facilities in many cases is world class, right?
Yes.
So as an NRI, you may still choose to spend a couple of years here just on a medical treatment. And maybe that health insurance policy you've picked up actually helps you do that, right? Yes. So there are all kinds of possibilities. So yeah, makes a lot of sense.
Moreover, it comes at a cost of $1,000 per year for the entire family to have a crore cover, 1 crore cover.
And most of them, especially if they're in the Western world, probably don't. They are very used to it. If you fall ill in the Western world and you actually go to a private doctor, it will set you back a lot of money,
Yes,
right?
sir.
So actually for NRIs, the value of insurance is well understood. It is
True,
very well understood, right? So this is an interesting side topic, which is then therefore, why don't they look at doing health insurance cover in India as well, in case
they have plans in future to come back.
Yeah. I mean, I know what you have been doing. I'm just very interested in understanding. Yes, you decided to start selling mutual funds.
So,
What prompted you to add health and term?
because I have witnessed cases when my client calls me to break his investment, the reason is one of his family member is ill at hospital. So that made me to realize the importance of health insurance first. Today, I will not even onboarding a client, single client, without showing me his health insurance cover.
Oh.
Be it through me or be it outside, I'm happy with it. Even the book I written, I mentioned it, buy a health insurance policy from your nearby agent, not from me.
Correct.
Buy it first, not look at the company. All companies are good. Don't try to do more research and choosing a company.
Correct.
You buy any of the company with an adequate cover. That's what I clearly made in most of the channels. Whenever I go for an interview, I start my interview with health insurance, sir.
And another thing that I'm sure your clients know, because they are people who actually done it, but a lot of other people don't, is you are perhaps one of the MFDs with the highest per SIP number.
Yes, sir, true.
So why do you push people to do 50,000, 1 lakh SIPs? Yeah, I mean, we are also beneficiaries of some of them, but people when they think about SIPs think 3,000, 5,000, but you are someone who pushes people to do 50,000, 1 lakh.
Because I want to spend my quality time with the client. My bandwidth should support me, right?
Yeah.
So initially I have onboarded all the kind of SIPs, be it from 1,000, 2,000. when I'm growing, because I have a practice at my office, in spite having 10 people, we'll never make an outbound call.
Okay.
If at all we are calling, it's for the onboarded client, not to the new clients. Now there are many clients lined up to onboard with me,
Yeah.
with the kind of establishment I made through my books and talks in various channels. If everyone trying to reach me per day 10, onboarding 10 clients a day will make my life miserable. My bandwidth will not allow me. Even today with the client base around 2000 client base I have. So even few days I am missing few of the clients' call to answer back. Though my team is in touch with them, I have recruited service assurance managers. I spread my clients across 9 of my employees. Everyone is responsible for 200, 250 clients.
Okay.
They're always in touch. But few clients want to talk to me on their some change in their life, not exactly an investment. Even one big call they are taking. So for that I need to be available for them, right? So that's the reason I thought of not increasing the size of the clients, but increasing the investment size.
So your share of their wallet is much
Yes.
higher, and then therefore their need for you is high, and your need for them is also high, because
Yes.
there's a decent value of the relationship. Yeah.
Yes, sir. Yes, sir. And mostly whenever I meet a client first now, after looking into his entire assets, liabilities, net worth, my first task to him is try to have a decent skin in the game.
Yeah.
I ask them not for the SAP. I ask them to bring at least 5% or 10% of their overall net worth into SAP and give me 3 years time.
Yeah.
Then you decide what need to be done later. I'm not assuring you 3 years you make positive returns. Maybe a negative return, maybe the capital remains same, but the kind of experience you get, the confidence it builds. Anytime liquidity is the power, na? Is the anytime liquidity, partial liquidity, pledge the same units and make money in minutes of time today. That confidence, na, having mutual fund is having your own time in your pocket is what I tell my clients. When it comes to SAP, if someone asks me what is the decent size of SAP, I tell them at least try to buy one future month every month. What are the per month expenses? If it is a lakh, you try to do 1 lakh SAP. What does it mean technically? You are buying one future month every month. The minute you have 100 months in your pocket, you are confident. The way you go to your office is differs. The way you talk to your boss differs. So that's what I try to promote for my...
So you are you are the person who is promoting this whole FIRE policy, is it? Retirement early.
Yes, sir. Yes, sir.
You are the person who is pushing. So if I become your customer, that is what you are going to make sure I do. Retire.
I will make you retire today.
Very good. Very good.
My biggest achievement, I say, I'm making many people retired. VRS. Many people. People are not realizing that the kind of net worth they have today is more than enough. Their net worth can only outlive them. They will never be able to outlive their time. So I want to enjoy their life. It's not that you quit your job. You do your job out of choice, not out of compulsion.
And I have one final question,
Please, sir.
Ramprasad.
Please.
Because you have clearly intersected with both residents and non-residents across health, term, mutual funds, and I know that you have a very large insight in real estate because you know that a lot of your clients typically have had that. Are you planning to add estate planning to your range of services? Because I'm sure that is something that people are starting to wonder about, right? They need help.
We are in plans, sir, not into that actually. I am trying to will writing, estate planning. I might to do a few courses and hire people to do that actually.
Yeah.
Will writing is one service. I realized it recently. All the things we learn from customers and their experience and common experience, sir.
Yeah.
We are upgrading ourselves year on year. Soon.
No, but we need more like you, no? That
Definitely, sir.
See, there's no point saying that we want to grow from 5 crore investors to 10 crore investors. We will need RP Wealth to expand. Otherwise, it's not going to happen.
Sure, sir.
Yeah.
With your blessing, we do that, sir. We'll expand.
It is mutual. You have constantly been a great support to us at Mahindra, and we really value folks like you because of the way you do that business.
Thank you very much for giving this wonderful opportunity, sir.
Thank you. Thank you.
Right, sir. We'll wish to see you again in our channel.
Absolutely. Absolutely.
Right, sir. Thank you.
Take care. Wish you all the best.
Thanks, sir. Thank you.
Thank you.